Hello everyone, this is Teacher Wayne. I'm doing continue my teaching series and using various game engines to create various different types of games. This is a showing basically a blackjack stroke pontoon variant card game. This I'm also using the GameMaker engine. I'm not using the GameMaker 2 has just come out, but I won't be using that for a while because it's fairly new and I've not got it and I don't know how reliable it is, but for now we're going to stick with GameMaker. So anyway, this blackjack game that we're looking at, it's not a traditional one where you're playing against a dealer in a casino. This one is where we play against each other, and it's as with blackjack, I don't know if you know this or don't know this, it's person who gets the nearest to 21 but not over it. So basically you get given a series of cards and we add them up until we get to 21. If you get 21, you've won. If you get more than 21, you bust. Or if no one gets to 21, it's the person who gets nearest to 21. So how do we value the cards? Basically they're at face value. The picture cards have all given a value of 10, and obviously there's a 10 card that has a value of 10. The ace is a unique card that has a value of 1 or 11. So basically if you get given an ace and a king, that's 21. That's a good position to be in. If you get given a ace and a 2, you could say that's 13, or you could say that's 3, and then you can decide to keep twisting or sticking. By the way, if you get 5 cards that add up to 21, that's called a 5-card trick, and that will actually beat an ace and a king, or ace and a 10. Basically that is the 5-card trick is a higher value, but for now let's just stick with what I've got. So I've created this little demo I'm going to show you. It's using no rules at the moment. It's just using a basic simple bit of coding. The coding, by the way, I've used in this game is generic coding. We're using a concept called arrays, which you can use in any programming language, in any game engine. There are GameMaker specific ways of making this game a lot faster, more efficient and easier, but you wouldn't be learning coding doing that, and I'm not going to teach that because I'm a teacher and I like to teach stuff strangely enough. So let's look at the arrays that we've got here. So I'm just going to got a little spreadsheet to show it. We've got various different arrays that I've got. I've got an original deck, I've got a random deck, and each AI player has an array as well. We've also got another array for the player. Okay, so it's quite don't get confused with these arrays. Arrays are just variables that store lots and lots of multiple values. You can have what's known as 2-dimensional arrays, 1-dimensional arrays. You can even have 3-dimensionals and 4-dimensional arrays, but in this game we use 1, 2 dimensionals. The first array is actually a sprite, and it's a sprite that we store all the cards in. I've called it cards, and it has, if you look, number of subimages 52. It stores, it's not actually technically an array, it's actually a sprite with lots of sub sprites, but it is a form of an array. If you look here, I've got all 52 subimages in one sprite. So if I go through them all, we've got all the clubs, start with the ace, ending with the king on the 12. Remember, there's actually 13 cards per deck, but 0's counted as the first one. If I click there, we've got ace of spades, which is number 13, and if I keep going, we've got all the cards going right through to hearts, and then we end up with diamonds. And the last card on number 51, because we don't go to 52 because we start at 0 again, is king of diamonds. So going back to here, what the random deck basically is, we're going to shuffle all the cards and we're going to store the shuffling in this array, and this array starts at 1 and ends at starts at 0 and ends at 51. And the reference of that, so for example we look at the first one, that'll come up with a random number between 0 and 51, so it picks 10. Then we look in the cards and we pull out number 10, and we find out that number 10 is, and remember that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 is the 10 of clubs, which makes sense really, doesn't it? But that'll be the first card. So the first card, if you shuffled it that way, will be 10 of clubs. So what we do is the random deck is our shuffling, which is we're going to use this script here called create random deck. We'll create the random deck. Original deck is not actually a deck. It's actually an array of variables that we use to say whether or not a card's been allocated. We use a concept called Boolean Variables. Just a quick recap here. We have different types of variables. We have integers, we have booleans, and we have floats, and we have strings, just to really finish it off. So integers are whole numbers, so you can have like a 0, we can have a 9, these are all integers. Booleans, you can have either a true or we can have a false. There can only be 2 states, and that original deck is full of booleans. Floats, these can be like 1.2 is a float. You can have a minus 7.9, that's a float. Strings are hi world. They're basically, you can put numbers in, you put characters, anything you want. Not spelled world right. Basically, so that's an example of a string. So these are example variables we've got in this game that we're going to be using. We're using an array called original deck, which is just Boolean variables to say whether or not we've given out the cards. I'll explain that later. A random deck, which is all the cards. And an AI player are all the players. We've got player numbers, so you've got 3 AI players. We've got Cindy, we've got Buck, and we've got Dan. I'm playing Stan, by the way. And they've got card numbers, so basically to start with, they're given card number 0 and card number 1 to represent the first 2 cards they get given. So let's just show you a little bit more. Let's press play and show you what we're on about. Makes a bit more sense. So here we are, a quick little sample game. So there I am at the top. I've got given a 9 and a 3. The twist and the stick don't work yet, but the reset does. If I click that, everyone gets a new card. So Cindy here, who's winking at us, has a king and a 6. She has 16. This guy here is sitting pretty on 2 kings, and that is 20. And this guy here is even prettier. The angry bloke has got a jack. He's actually got 21. So if you think about whether each character is going to twist or stick, let's think about using the concept of probability. This guy's probably going to stick. He's got 20. You think, well, you know, there's a possibility he might win. High possibility, I'll stick. This guy's definitely going to stick because he's got 21. Cindy's 16. She may twist, she may stick. The only way that she's going to get 21 is, think about it, she needs a 5. Now, if you think about how many fives, if she needs a 5, if she gets a 5 or she gets a 5, a 4, a 3, a 2 or an ace, she's safe when she twists. But if she gets an ace, she's only slightly better off than she is now. So ideally she wants a 5. So think about how probable that is likely to happen to her. That's one of the things on what you think about when you're creating this game is the sort of concept of probability, and also about the coding needed. You're going to be adding numbers up and stuff as that. So this teaches you a lot of maths, this game, whether you like it or not. So we're going to twist or stick here. So if I press reset, each player gets a new thing. This guy here, it looks like he's bust, but remember ace can be 1s or 11s. He's actually got 2. This guy's quite happy to twist. This guy has got 4. She's got basically 13, and I've got 12, so I'd be twisting. He'd be twisting. Everyone would be twisting here. I'll just press reset again. 20 there, 20 there. These 2 guys probably stick. These 2 guys are probably twist. But there you are, that's the game. But that's open, by the way. Usually you see the back of the cards for the other players. So let me show you these scripts now. Setup script. We have a load of global variables, which I won't bother explaining at this stage. When I start going more into the teaching of this, I will go through it. But basically, what I want to show you is, in here, we set this original deck up. Starting at 0, we've got a for loop. It starts at 0, ends at 51, and the original deck is set as false. And then we run create random deck and run first cards. I'll go through what all these variables, global variables, are later. Don't worry about them yet. So I'm going to leave that because that's fairly basic. This is the interesting one. This is what I really want to spend some time explaining. So this is create the random deck. Remember, a deck of cards is 52 randomly shuffled cards. So how do we emulate that using arrays? Well, we have two arrays, one called original deck and one called random deck. Random deck is the new deck of cards with all the randomly shuffled cards in it. Well, it's not actually, it's an array with random numbers in it. An original deck is whether or not that card's been allocated. Why do we do this, Wayne? Well, the answer to this question is, if you imagine that we gain a random number here, which is what this does. We're generating a random number between 0 and 51. There's a high chance, we're going back to that word probability again, high probability that when we're creating the deck we'll have the same random number appear more than once. So how do we stop this happening? We do a check to see if it's been allocated, which is where the original card deck comes in. So here we have this check loop, this variable called check loop. So we set it to true, and it says while check loop is true, in other words, while this is true, while we're checking, then keep going through this while. So we set I is 0 to begin with. We get a card number set here, so this is going to be a random number. Let's say it's 14. These are just debug messes, we'll ignore them for now. It says if original deck card number 14, right, is false. Now remember we set it up with setup that it will be set false, so that's good. Check loop is false, so we're coming out of this while loop in a second. We set the original card true, in other words we've allocated it now, and then we set the random deck to it. So now random deck I, which is 0, is set to card number, which we set, remember what we said? I think, I can't remember now, was it 13? 13, we set it to 13 or 14, and it's been allocated there. That's been changed to true, so we'll set, I remember it's 14, so that's 14. So card number 0 in random deck I, where I is 0, is set to 14. So the first card is 14, and then that's set to false. It breaks out this while loop, goes up to there, sets I equal to 1, comes back down here. Now imagine that this random number generator here comes back with 14 again. It goes, if original card deck is false, well no, it's already been allocated because we set it to true before. So it goes back round again, so that's another random number, and then that one gets changed. Can you see how this works? So basically what happens is, as you start dishing out, as these cards start vanishing, you'll end up with only a couple of random numbers. You could end up in this while loop a lot. It'll be looping through it, but as a computer program cycles through things in milliseconds, it doesn't really take a lot of time to create this random deck, and that's how I do it. I hope I've made that clear. So first cards. Now I've commented this quite nicely so you can explain. We have two arrays, well you actually have three arrays in action here. We have AI player, which is an array which for the players. We have three players, player 0, player 1, I'm showing you player 1, player 2, and we have one player player character, and he's got a different array called player cards dealt. So AI player 0 is these two. This is a two-dimensional array, so we're saying player 0, and we're saying card, their first card is that one. They get the first one off the deck, and they get the second one off the deck. And then player 1, they get that one, and they get that one. Player 2 get that card and that card, and the player character gets the last two. So basically everyone gets two cards. They're all unique, and that is how it works. Now later in this series we're going to show you what happens when somebody does a twist or someone does a stick. I'll start with a player character and maybe move to the NPCs, but I'll see how it goes. But for now, this is the end of this video. Oh, sorry, one more thing. I just want to show how they display it. So Cindy, let me show, she has a draw statement. Sorry about this. We have a, for that character Cindy, she does a draw. She draws herself. We make it so that it's slowly animated, 0.1 speed. If you don't do that, she kisses really quickly. You want it to be really slow. And then we want to draw the two cards. So if you notice, I've got draw sprite, and it's the first card, Cindy. 0 represents Cindy, and 0 represents the card number. So the first two cards is 0 and 1, and we're allocating the card sprite, and then we're saying what the index number is. there, which is AI player, and that displays the first two cards. If I just show you quickly Stan, you can see what the difference between Stan and Cindy is. So this is Stan. There you are. Can you see? Because he's player 1 and she's player 0. The only difference is this. So Stan is 1, Cindy is 0. You got that? Hopefully I've explained this well enough for you to understand. Obviously there's going to be different X and Y locations where things are going to get drawn, but that's it. So anyway, this is Teacher Wayne calling off, and I'll see you in the other videos, and goodbye.